Now we will add the code to the front end so that the user will able to add the information from the front end. Okay, so our front end is ready with us, and whenever user will click on the submit, the record should be submitted to the backend. That is what we want. Okay, so I'm moving to the VS Code, and then I'll be moving to the student JS, and I have to do some changes over here in the form control. So what changes I require to do? So first thing that I require to have over here is name is equal to, I must have to specify the name of each and every control. So here the first control is ID. Okay, the second attribute that I have to specify is the value. Okay, and the value would be nothing but the state variable which I am going to declare. Okay, let me declare the state variable first. Okay, so here I'm at the top of the function and declaring the state variable like this constant. There are three fields of this student table, so I will be declaring three state variable. So constant id set id is equal to use effect. Okay, so by default the state variable would be initialized by null value. Another state variable, that is constant name set name is equal to use effect. Okay, then the third one, there is constant address set address is equal to use effect. Perfect. Okay, so I have declared these three different state variables which are going to be used. Okay, so here first state variable is used. Okay, then similarly I'm going to use the state variables with another control also. Just I have copied pasted, and here this would be the state variable name. This would be address. Okay, right. So now, so here we have uh, made ready our component. Okay, one more thing that we have to do over here is that we have to specify on change event. Okay, so what will happen that whenever something would be changed into the text box, that should be assigned to the state variable. That is what we are going to do. Okay, so for that I'm going to declare the function called text changed. Okay, so that is what I'm specifying over here, text change. Okay, so here that on change event I require in each and every component like this. Okay, and now let me declare that text change function over here. Let text changed, I'm going to write the arrow function. Okay, right, and the parameter that would be passed over here is the event. Okay, so if we want to catch, then and then we will write this parameter, otherwise not. Okay, but here we require to catch, because here you can see that the text change function is associated with all these three component. So to differentiate the component, I must have to use this event. Okay, so what I'll be doing that, first I will check that which event is generating this event. Okay, sorry, which component is generating this event. So here I will be writing if event dot source event dot source dot name, okay, is equal to, if it is id. Okay, then what should happen that the state of the id should be set. Okay, so I will write set id. In the argument I will be writing event dot source dot value. Okay, similarly else if event dot source dot name is equal to name, then it should be set name, then event dot source dot value. Okay, and the last one, that else if event dot source dot name is equal to address, then it should be set address, that is event dot source dot value. Okay, so now guys, what will happen that whenever that user will click or user will type anything to the text box, then it would be associated with the state. Okay, let's check that. Okay, there is something wrong. Okay, let me go to the console and let me check that what has happened. Undefined is not iterable, that is symbol cannot read the property, line number 7. Let me check what is there at the line number 7. There is id, set id, use effect, use, sorry, this should be not use effect, but this should be use state. Please correct me, this should be use state. Okay, perfect. Okay, now let's go back to the application. So there should not be any error now in the console. Okay, now here you can see that you can input the values and that values would be there, okay, in the textbook. This happened because of this text change function. Okay, now the next thing is that whenever user will click on the submit button, okay, on the submit button, at that time the event should be generated. Okay, so what we should do, that in the form control, as the type of button is submit, what I can do, I can write on submit over here, right? And at that time the function should be called, let's say the function would be add student. Okay, so this is the function which I have to implement. So I'm going to implement the function, let's say let add student. Okay, I'm going to write the arrow function, and I don't require any this argument now, parameter now. So here in the add student, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the axios. Okay, and the method would be post, right? And it would have two different arguments. Okay, the first argument would be url. So the url is http colon double slash localhost colon 80 slash student. Okay, followed by the data. Okay, so here the data should be in the form of single object, so I require this particular data over here. Okay, in the form of this, right, student. Okay, so what I'll be doing, that I'll be creating a new state, let's say constant student is equal to, and here I'll be creating a state with some internal variables like id. Okay, then name comma name, and here this would be address comma address. Okay, let's check that this id correspond to the state variable, name correspond to this state variable, and address correspond to this. Okay, so now I can pass the student. Okay, then here I am writing that whatever response would come, I will catch that response. Okay, so response, okay, response. Okay, then I'm writing alert dot, I can write like this, that alert response dot data. Okay, it should display the message dot. Let's catch the error also over here. That is alert error. Okay, so we are ready with our code. Okay, now we should test it. Okay, so let me go back to the application, and here I'm going to provide some value. Let's say the value is 1001. Okay, the name is check. Okay, and the address is UK. Okay, let me click on submit. What has happened? The I didn't get any response. Okay, let me check that what has happened at the back end. So I'm at the back end and something wrong has been happened to the back end. What is that? The ID must not be null. Okay, so what is the issue? What is the problem that we have done over here? That we forgot to set the ID. Okay, we forgot to set the ID. How this could have happened? That ID is there, name is there, then this should work. Once again, sorry, the mistake is over here, that instead of source it should be target. Right, this is the mistake. Please make the correction. Okay, now it should work. Okay, and in the React, instead of double equal to, you should use the triple equal to sign for the equality comparison. Okay, yeah, so moving back to the application, and let me click on the submit. Now the record has been successfully inserted. Okay, let me check. Okay, what is the issue? That given ID must not be. No, this is not the issue. Let me check that in the backend, that we have added the student record or student ID, that is 1001. It should be there. It is not there. 1001 is not there. Okay, let me rerun the application and let me check it once again. Let me run the application. 1001 path check. Okay, let me see the backend. Okay, nothing has happened to the backend, means the request has not been transferred to the backend. Otherwise, we should have seen that insert query over here. Yeah, it is there. Okay, it is working. It is working, but where the why the, that insert query is not shown? Let me see the application dot property, that is spring dot hibernate dot. Let me change this, that is spring dot gpa dot, sorry, gpa dot show SQL, that is equal to true. Okay, then it would show, right? So let's try it once again. Let me add the record, that is 1002. Okay, and here the name, let's say Tom once again, and UK. Okay, let me save this, and the record saved successfully. Okay, let's see. Let's refresh this. Okay, and that was 1002. This one, Tom. Okay, so we have successfully added the student.